Welcome to Best in Faction, a competitive Warhammer 40K podcast. I'm Colin,
Now, Mitch,
and Mitch is here, but we have no Chuck. And when you have no Chuck, you have to grab a bunch of people to fill the value that Chuck provides, right, Mitch?
the chuck
Like,
size value, yes, that is
yes,
the
we
measurement.
needed
It's the
three
metric.
people who together equal Chuck. That was what we were looking for. I don't know in weight or age, or I don't really know I don't really know where this metaphor goes from now. But what we have here today is we have Tyler Bortel, main host of the Next Generation. I thought that we were going to be able to have Lucas as well, but I'm not good at scheduling. That's on me, not on Lucas. And then we also have our good friend Zach and Hank, both of which we'll talk about in just a moment. So we have kind of a fun thing going on next weekend. But before we talk about that, I want to say, Mitch, how the heck are you? What's going on? I never talked to you.
Oh man, just very busy with life. Unfortunately, not a lot of time for 40k. Just dreaming up lists. I still have no idea what I'm taking to this thing.
Excellent.
Um, yeah, no, it'll be exactly the type of jank that you would expect because I have no clue what it'll be yet.
Yeah. People
But
are going to look at it and say, Mitch made this list.
yeah, they're gonna be like, he brought guard. What? Why?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it's on the
helpful.
table right now. It's definitely on the table.
All right. Too much adulting, not enough playtime, it sounds like for
Yeah,
you.
oh yeah, definitely if I'm thinking about bringing guard, I clearly haven't play tested. Um,
All right. Well, Chuck is actually at the tournament today. Uh, Chuck made a decision on a previous podcast that if he's going to go 3-2 at the tournament, no matter what army he takes, he should take one he loves. So he's at a tournament in Spokane where he's playing that chaos list that he made some battle reports with, where he's got 500 points of summoning and a giant unit of pinks. And we'll talk about that list a little bit more. But basically, it's a super janky, neat chaos list that says, hey, I'm over here and I'm going to score 93 points, or maybe it's 95 points. I can't remember. But he's like, hey, I'm over here and I'm going to score 93 points and you have to stop me because I don't have to come over there or interact with you in any way. I'm just here doing the game. So try to stop me. And it's a pretty interesting list. What we saw is it's pretty neat and it works well. And then if you put it against S tier shooting, it just falls completely apart. But it's also chaos, which is not an S tier army. So I don't know what we were looking for. Um, but like I played against it with the Shuriken Craft World list, which if you want to see it is on a battle report on the network. And I just shut that thing off. But he wants to play it and he's doing really well. And in fact, on the first day, he did beat New Eldar by a point. So triple fire prism New Eldar, which I've not actually seen on the table. So that was pretty neat. Okay, so here's what's going on. Here's why all these people are here. Next, so we're making these battle reports now, right? And the way they work is we're playing 40K, trying to film it in the best quality we can. I know that so far there's been some questionable quality, but it's improving all the time. And we're now going to record in a higher resolution as of today. Anyways, we're making these battle reports and then we're taking the people that played them and we're doing commentary over them with telestration. And yes, many of you have pointed out that you can't see the mouse cursor. I actually didn't know you couldn't see the mouse cursor because on my computer it's huge. So we have to solve that problem as well. We're solving all these technical problems. Then what we're doing is we're going to have 8 people come to my house next weekend. We're going to do a single elimination RTT where every game in the tournament is played on camera, and then we take it and the players from that game, both of them, we'll get on a sped up version that will take about an hour, and they'll walk you through the game and they'll tell you how it went and they'll tell you their story and they'll tell you where they were wrong and what they thought. We're going to record their thoughts before the game. We're going to record their thoughts after the game, and then we're going to have them commentate the game, and we're going to put all that together into this wonderful package that we're going to put out on YouTube. The first 4 games, round 1, will be free for everybody to watch. You guys will be able to see all those games that we're about to talk about. If you want to see the 2 games of round 2 or the final game of round 3, that's going to be in our members only area, which is where you can get access to not only all of our battle reports, but also the 40K the Fight Club after party every Tuesday night, and also the second part of Chasing the Narrative, where I ask people to talk about preposterous things, such as this week's Chasing the Narrative, where I interview Adam Camilleri about his life that got him to a professionally traveling 40K personality. And then after that, we talk about what it's like to move from Australia to America in part 2, and it's hysterical. He is so funny. So that's a great one for you. Okay, so we're gonna do this single elimination tournament, and everyone here is going to play with 3 other people. It's going to be the BIFPOD guys, the BIFPOD TNG guys, and then consummate local tournament professionals Zach and Hank, who we'll talk to in just a moment. Before we get in and talk about what lists we're going to play at the tournament and how they're going to go into each other, I do want to talk about how quickly the game is changing. And we've got a really, really good group for this. Zach has owned Tau for a long time. He played Tau tournament wise in 8th edition some. Tyler owns Tau and has played Tau in tournaments. Tyler plays a crazy amount of Tyranids. I play a lot of Tyranids. Hank reads every codex that comes out and has opinions on all of them. And then Hank is playing Eldar. Zach and I are both historical Eldar players. Really, the only person that's left out in all of this is Mitch, and that's because all of the good Imperium books happened already or have been ignored, right, Mitch? Like,
I have a pretty good insight on the Eldar Codex and a few of the others, I think. But
I'm sure you do. I was just trying to make a funny joke about how none of this is Imperium
no,
talking
Guard will
about.
have its day, and we will crush you all under our treads. But until then, yeah, I enjoy your sunshine.
Maybe not crush all of us, because some of us do have our guard armies that we can pull out
Ah,
if it's
those are
necessary.
Gene Stealer cult loyalists. I don't recognize them.
No, 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 no. Those are painted metal Valhallans that are older than like 3 of the people on this podcast. That's that's what that is. I can't remember when I first started buying those. I think I was 17, maybe. So 97 is when I started buying those metal Valhallans. Who was alive in 1997? Probably everybody but Tyler.
Yep,
Yeah.
guilty.
Yeah. Everybody but
Yeah.
Tyler. That's not actually that bad. I think if we had Nick and Lucas here, we might have had a different situation. Um, Anywho, okay, so let's start off by talking about about custodes for a minute. Um, I want to hear Mitch and Hank each talk for, and we have a lot to get through. So just like literally 30, 60 seconds. Mitch, what do you think about custodes competitively now versus 2 or 3 weeks ago? Like they were wrecking everyone's super high win rate, but we're getting codexes that are very powerful at a quick rate. Do you think custodes are going to weaken in the meta?
I think they changed shape a bit. There is some depth to that codex, and there's a certain amount of they're able to what they mitigate are game mechanics.
Hmm.
So that those translate to other codexes. So the 4 up to mortal wounds, like whether that's coming from Eldar or Thousand Sons or Tyranids, it's still a 4 up, right?
So real good.
Yep, turning off rerolls works on every codex. So there's a certain amount of what they have that's just going to keep them where they are until they get a points bump, which is what I think we will expect to see. I think that they they will recognize their mistake in the next rebalance. We'll see them go back up, probably to I'd hope to see at least 5 to 10% over the original points they came out at, not the new points they are at now.
Okay.
With the exception of the Telemon, leave him where he is unless he gets core. That's exactly the points they should cost because they are not like they're great, but they're not they're perfect where they are.
And they're not pushed on points. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
So,
But everything else could that's the Forge World bikes also probably don't really need a huge points adjustment. But everything else, the Sagittarium really need it now because now they have the free Misericordia. And then I think that it's what I'm really interested to see is to see whether or not Shield Wall becomes more of the focus or less of the focus with all of the high AP we're now seeing available to Eldar specifically.
and Tyler's over there salivating because of his abilities to turn off Custode's ability to spend strats on their units, which
Yep.
is just ridiculously gross. So Hank. So for those that
Yep.
don't know Hank, Hank is a longtime competitive 40K gamer, and Hank and I now are practicing all the time because we share a. I'm going to call it an obsession, Hank, with playing the best thing we possibly can. I'm going to say,
That sounds about right.
yeah. So both Hank and I get frustrated when you ask us to play a game with you and you don't want us to try our hardest to win. So that makes us really great practice partners for each other. Hank is a middle school history teacher, which
Mhm.
makes him a really interesting person to have on the podcast for the commentary because Hank literally has a great deal of practice explaining his thought process to people.
That is true.
Uh, Hank is also one of the only people in the state that has beaten me in a tournament game. So just to throw that out there for Hank.
Mhm.
And the final thing that I'll say about Hank is if you want to hear about him and Chuck playing that chaos list I was alluding to earlier, and Hank playing Eldar, yeah,
Yeah,
Eldar.
yeah, I was older.
There's a battle report on our YouTube free. It's in the free for everybody area. where they talk through how that game went, and it's a pretty interesting game, and they sell the story really well. So feel
Mhm.
free to check that out. But Hank played a bunch of Custodes. I know you're bored of them, and Elves have come out. But what do you think of Custodes in the meta now? Now that you know so much about Eldar in particular.
Pretty much just I'm gonna echo what Mitch said in that Custodes they mitigate game mechanics and they're still very, very cheap for the rules and the durability that you get. Nothing I've seen out of Eldar or Tyranids thus far. Like they definitely have very scary, very cool mechanics. There's nothing that I've seen so far that is going to make me worried that the lethality of either of those codexes is going to be able to significantly go over the top of the Custodes made all their saves and nothing died. Also, you didn't get any rerolls. There's both of these codexes still very much run the risk of just having a terrible turn where nothing in the Golden Boy army died, and
Yeah,
then they lose a whole bunch of stuff because
yeah, we see
the
that so much, you and I.
exactly. No, totally. It's like sometimes the dice work and none of my stuff dies, and it's just real bad for everybody. The only thing that I'll say as a Custodians player that I'm worried about is if there's an Eldar list that actually goes pure non-interactive, like nothing but indirect fire, nothing but warp spiders, nothing but swooping hawks, nothing but action monkeys and psychic stuff and scatter bikes moving and shooting and then battle focusing back out of line of sight, making it to where, as a Custodes player with my limited mobility, I just can never actually see anything to kill it. Like if I don't get my first kill before turn 3, that's probably a bit of a problem. We saw that in the game that we played where I ran Custodes at your Eldar, and you basically just non-interacted me into just destroying me on secondary and winning
Right.
the game by 10 or 12 points or so.
Yeah, Eldar are much better at playing the mission than Custodes are, which is really bad for them in that matchup. I think it's a
Very
good way
much
of
so.
summarizing what you're saying.
Yep.
That's why I have been looking at indirect allies, Manicores, Disintegrators. There's options available, and there's some interesting combos there that can allow you to kind of create a different sort of pressure so that the Eldar have to focus on that they are indirect, or they can actually they can buy you a turn
Yeah.
ideally.
I can sing you a
That
song
makes
about
sense.
indirect fire.
What's that, Zach?
I can sing you a song about indirect fire.
Because you
Oh,
also
show me the dance of your people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
yeah.
You need the song of your people.
Because Tao's just like, what if we made a normal army list that was really great on its own, but it also had all of this effectively free indirect fire on it? And it's like, oh yeah, that's real good. So let's talk about Tao. So Zach, you played a bunch of Farsight suits back in 8th.
Yeah,
You played Triptide in 8th as well.
a lot of that.
No. You didn't play Triptide, did you?
I did. I
played
did.
Triptide.
I took Triptide to LVO in the Marine meta, and I still got a winning record.
Oh, you did. I forgot that.
I
Yeah.
played against an average of 10.5 Centurions a game, and 2 of my games had no Centurions. It was awful.
Okay. So Zach, what do you think of the Tau book and where it sits in the meta right now? Not
Uh,
obviously, by the way, if you guys want to hear the statistics on this, we've got Fight Club for that. But we're just talking about players that have played these factions and know the tournament scene really well and getting their opinions. So Zach,
yeah, so I think Tower really strong.
yes.
I have seen the lists online that other people are winning with, and they don't quite fit my style. So I'm gonna be running something a little bit different.
Which
When
we'll
I
talk
did
about
a
in a little
read
bit.
through when I did a read through the Tau book, I was like, wow, there's so much good stuff in here. The crisis suits are way more durable. Being able to get out of a transport after it moves is just over the top. And like
What
you were
if
saying,
3 units could do it for
uh,
Zach? What if
for one CP,
yeah, wouldn't that be neat?
that'd be great. I think that strat's gonna go to 2 CP, and I think that won't be a problem. Um, But yeah, like you said, like I brought all this up because I like it, and it just happens to also have 48 smart missile shots that just for some reason come with. You could take the smart missiles off of all those tanks, and I'd still probably take them. It's it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. All right, Tyler, you're a longtime Tau collector. What do you think of the Tau book and where it sits right now?
I think that Tau, I think that Tau are kind of king of the castle right now. They have a very, very good matchup into Custodes. They have an incredible matchup into the field, and they seem to hang with Elves a lot better than Custodes do. And I think they're going to hang with Tyranids a lot better than Custodes do. They just fundamentally ruin so many of the things that anyone wants to do. Custodes can weather most of anything, but Tau can kill most of anything. And long term in this game, that always seems to be the strategy that works out better. And they have the mobility to back it up. So we'll see what ends up changing with them in the future. But for the time being, I think that they are about as strong as you can get right now.
Question on Tau. What kind of access to ignores cover do they have?
All of it. Every
All of
single
it,
piece of
okay.
indirect fire they have ignores cover if they want.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really dumb.
For
Yeah.
1 CP as well, the strat that makes your breachers reroll all filled wounds also just happens to turn cover off.
Okay.
Because why not?
So
Now, see, the Tyranid book, they thought of that, and so they made it so that our Exocrine can turn cover off on its AP4 shooting.
It also ignores dense, but go
So-
on, Mitch.
so you get when in the search for jank that I create, like there is something that I've been wanting to try, which involves the Aegis defense line and 2 10-man Custodes shield wall units. Where you just line up, and then you just in the middle of that, behind that, you put one piece of terrain that you hide your mana cores and your artillery squads, and that's just kind of your list, and it's literally a castle. But that dream has just died on the podcast live for all of you. So fun.
Colin, what do you think the Eldar book's doing? Well, I'm so glad
I was
you asked,
about
Colin.
to go there.
Yeah,
Beat
right.
me to it.
I love the Eldar book as with a passion that is difficult to compare to anything else other than the Tyranid book, which I also have strong feelings for. I'm getting probably my 2 favorite codexes that have ever existed in the game at the same time. I just absolutely love both of these books. I think that the general consensus seems to be that Harlequins are the best. I think Harlequins are very strong, and I'm going to play them next weekend, so we're going to get some very direct feedback from Colin on that. But I actually think the Craft World book is more interesting, and I'll explain why. The Harlequin book is a very small number of data slates, and those data slates are very good, and some of them are undercosted. And whenever I see that, I think it's an orc vehicle army, where as soon as any nerfs happen, the army is obliterated. And I think that's what's going to happen to Harlequins. I think if they overperform their win percentage, which I think they will, because they are pretty BS. I've got this really fast thing that kills you really good and has all of the jank, and by the way, you can't shoot it. Seems really powerful.
Can we
But
call
I think that-
Harlequins what they are? They're elf stoties. Like
Yeah, right.
I mean,
Like,
yeah,
yeah.
pretty much.
They're elves.
Yeah.
They're elves with brooms that clean up after everyone.
yeah.
Elf custodians.
Yep.
So just to
Golden
fill everybody in on
clowns.
what my terrible joke was there. So I think that the Harlequin book is very powerful, and it is better than Craft World Elder right now. I think that if it gets nerfed, it won't survive. Is basically my feeling on mono book armies of any kind. That said, the fact that Harlequins can just go into Drukhari and Craft World Eldar for free with no penalty means that we'll always see them anytime there's anything good. I think Dudes in Boats is going to be good for a long time. I think the bikes are good. I think that the gunboats are amazing. The gunboats are priced by a dude that thought the orc vehicle book at launch was unreasonable. That's how those boats are pointed. They are pointed more aggressively than the orc buggies, and it's kind of silly.
They're always going to be an amazing toolbox to
Yes.
add to your elf, your
Yeah, because
overall elf.
they took all of the most powerful jank stratagems in the game and gave them all to Harlequins.
Yeah,
They just
it's
have all of them.
amazing. It's just so many.
So that's what my thought on Harlequins is they're going to come out incredibly strong and they're going to be difficult to nerf without ruining. And then I think that Craft World Elder I actually think is better than Harlequins, but I think it's incredibly deep. I think that there is a lot of Craft World Elder lists you can make. Everybody's talking about Oathway. I do think Oathway is the best, but there's a lot you could do. So how they fit into the meta, I think that Craft World Eldar, I actually think it's going to obliterate Custodes as soon as the lists are figured out. I think that Custodes is going to have no game because I don't think they're going to be able to hang with the mission. And I think they're also going to lose the shooting battle. And I've played 40K in a period of time where nobody but Eldar could beat Custodes, so I'm very comfortable with that. That's when in 8th edition there was a long period of time where like Zach brought Custodes against Yanari at a tournament, and then I played JP's Custodes with Yanari the game after that, and neither of those games were interesting. So Custodes could just be shot, and it's bad for them if that goes that way. I have not done nearly enough Eldar into Tau. I'm hoping Zach we can do some of that next weekend. I haven't done any of that, so I can't speak to that yet. But I also think that Eldar into Tyranids is going to be really interesting as long as Tyranid armies aren't gribbly focused. Because if you're gribbly focused, man, does Craft World Eldar and Tau not want to let you play the game. Go ahead, Tyler. You raised your hand.
No, I was just signaling that yeah, they're all gone. They're all terrible. It makes me very upset. I want my Griblies back. It's just unplayable right now.
Yeah. I played a little bit of Craft Rolled Indirect Fire into the Mitch, what's the AdMech all infantry thing called? Metallica?
Veteran cohort.
Veteran cohort. Yeah. I played against Noah playing that very competently, but it's like, okay, well, here's my 18 strength 6 AP2 1 damage shots now. I guess. Oh, I'm just gonna have these guys hit on 2s for this turn. Like the AdMech just they just hate that. They just don't like it at all. So anyways, let's talk just really quickly about Tyranids because I want to focus on the tournament. And Tyranids have only been leaked. I don't even think we have a release date for it yet. We just all have the codex, which is this weird thing that's happened. If you would like to hear about Tyranids, I believe you can listen to BIFPOD TNG from yesterday, where I believe almost the entire episode was about Tyranids, if I'm not mistaken.
It's basically Alex McDougall and I going back and forth talking about another ridiculous combo that we figured out in the book and how amazing it is, while Lucas and Nick get slowly more and more depressed about the state of the game with their okay armies. So it's a lot of fun for NID players.
Yeah, I think the NIDS book got the memo that all books are good now. I think that I don't think we know right now if they're as over the top as Cal, Eldar, and Harley's. I don't think we know that, but I could tell you that there's good stuff in there. And I also can tell you from both Tyler and I were just laughing about this. If you try to play that book the way you played Tyranids before, you're gonna have a bad day. It's gonna go very poorly for you. The book does not operate the same. And Hank and I played yesterday in a game you guys will see on the battle report, and I ran gargoyles up the board, advancing and charging them to get onto an objective. And both Hank and I are like, wow, gargoyles are fast. This is really cool. And then we realize, oh, but they're also leadership 5, and Synapse doesn't reach them anymore. So the Rangers in combat I think they killed like 3 gargoyles, and then I failed morale, and like everybody down to like 2 ran away.
Yeah.
It was not
Yeah, it was not great.
Yeah. So, anyways, we'll talk a lot more about Tyranids and Eldar as the books are more figured out. But Tyler, just we won't have a lot of time, so literally like 60 seconds on where you think Tyranids are going to sit in the meta once their book comes out.
I think Eldar kick Custodes halfway out of S tier, and I think Tyranids finish the job. We have a lot of rules and interactions that Custodes just don't have great answers for. A 4-up Feel No Pain against mortals is really great, but when your entire army is 48 wounds and I can do 40 mortals a turn, then I table you in 2. Like, obviously it's more complicated than that, but that's just sort of the math of the situation.
Tyranids do a lot of mortals for those that
Tyranids can be a wicked psychic army if they want to. There's a ton of crazy missional play. Nothing has to be like our flavor of non-interactive is that anything with the fly keyword just doesn't have to be around on your opponent's turn. So things get really silly when you think about how that works with scoring and with damage. I think that they're going to be able to compete with all the S tier boys. Tau are going to give them the most trouble, but I am confident that I have good play into everything in the game right now.
So
we'll see how
Tyler, a quick question on that for the Custodes matchup. What happens if you start seeing more Sisters of Silence?
Sisters of Silence, I think, are something that Custodes are going to have to be taking a lot more of to deal with that. And then we have to start asking really interesting questions about how to deal with them with what indirect fire we do have left. And I think that that might be a fun little arms race to watch go through because Sisters of Silence are very vulnerable to that. But definitely if you're playing Custodes, take Sisters.
Yeah, scouting Rhinos of Sisters is definitely a thing that can be a much more valuable now.
Absolutely.
And we do get to have indirect fire. It's just that it's Biovores.
Yeah. It might. I'm not opposed to it being Hive Guard. We'll see what happens. We'll see.
Okay. All right. All right. Let's talk about this tournament, folks. So what we're going to do is we're going to have each person talk about roughly what they're considering taking. Lists are not locked in yet, but people are going to talk roughly about what they're taking. Tyler's going to talk about his group. I'll talk about Chuck, and we're just going to kind of run through that. But we're not going to spend a ton of time. Don't run through your entire list. Talk about the gist of your list and the sorts of things you're taking. I think Hank actually already knows the answer, so let's have Hank go first. So Hank, what are you thinking you're going to take? What sort of list are you going to take to this event?
Yeah, I am going to be taking an Ulthway Eldar list, and it's probably going to be centered around a biggish unit of Scatter Laser Windriders. And then there's probably going to be, the standard indirect fire section. I'm probably going to do 6 Shadow Weavers and a Night Spinner. Then there's probably going to be an amount of Aspect Warriors. There's going to be 3 or 4 Psychers mixed evenly between Warlocks and Farseers.
You do like taking a lot of Farseers. That's the thing
I do
you
like taking
enjoy.
a lot of Farseers. I did. Farseers are great. Ulthway Farseers are the best Farseers. Eldritch
Mhm.
Storm is a very live strat. And then obviously, I'm going to take everyone's favorite Phoenix Lord, Flabby B.
Oh yeah. Who who is so good.
So much. The idea of the list is to be able to play a very, very heavily non-interactive game if that's what I want to do, but to still have the punch of the melee aspect warriors as well as the direct fire threat of like dire avengers and scatter lasers to go and remove things if that is an issue. I am a little bit concerned about facing Tyranids just because it sounds like most competent Tyranid lists are going to be a whole lot of toughness 8 4+ invuln save, and some of my list is okay with dealing with that, but other parts of my list are not okay dealing with that. So we will see if I need to make adjustments after this list. I'm not planning on changing anything specifically for Tyranids.
What's great about that, and a big part of this is the fake dice. But what's great about these Eldar lists that Hank's playing, and I'm playing slightly different versions of it, often that have Harlequins in it. But these CWE lists are good at shooting, good at punching, and good at psychic, and that's my favorite way to play 40k.
Oh yeah, they play all 3 phases.
And you add to that they're also good at playing the mission, and you just feel like you have all of these tools. So even if you get in a situation where you can't just brute force down the other list, you still have a game. And I think that's really neat.
I will say that if Tyranids end up being an issue for this style of Ulthway that I'm playing, I will probably end up pivoting to the Shuriken Storm list because I feel the Shuriken Storm list is just like, oh, who cares? Toughness, what's that? That's just a number. I'm just going to roll 6s to hit and it'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so Zach, I know that you're relatively new to the Tau book, but what sort of Tau are we going to get to see to go with this Craft World Eldar shenanigans?
Yes. So when I read the Tau book, I said breachers. I think are one of the best things in this book. You're not going to see any broadsides from me. I'm not super excited about a piece that moves 5 inches and wants to get line of sight to things. So about half
Neither
my
is your
list.
wife. I'm sorry, I don't know.
Uh,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
that's good. That's
It
good.
was wildly inappropriate. I apologize,
Uh,
everyone. But like Zach literally put that out over the like right in my wheelhouse, and I
yeah,
had the bat, and I was just like, okay, here it comes.
I served that to you. You had to hit it.
Yeah. All
Um,
right. Sorry.
So yeah, so about half my list is breachers in Devilfish, because they move and get out.
Giggity.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
mean they're great. It's 85 points in their obsec, so that objective is not yours now, which is great.
Great. I
Um,
hate it.
I have some crisis suits. I have a squad of Sibby suits. I'm playing Farsight Enclaves, so Sibby suits can drop in with full rerolls and basically just tell anything it shouldn't be there anymore, and it will usually agree. And I'm running some hammerheads. I haven't seen hammerheads in most of the other lists on the internet. I understand why, but they tell a big thing it shouldn't be there anymore, and they're my tool for that. I also have plasma suits, which also do that, but yeah. So like 48 shots indirect, lots of breachers that go wherever and take whatever, and then 2 really nasty commanders that do the usual stuff.
3 guys in boats that pre-game move, and then moving it. Then the boats move, and then the guys get out and move in advance. It's really nuts.
In my last practice game, I actually forgot they got a pregame move, and it still didn't matter.
That's great. Okay, thanks, Zach. We'll come back to both you and Hank in just a moment. Now, Tyler, what sort of weak ass bullshit? Excuse my language. What sort of weak ass stuff is the BIFPOD TNG guys going to bring to face it?
Yeah, I'll go through. We have one S tier army and myself, and 2 like very mid to low A tier armies in Orcs and Nids. If you've been following TNG, Naj is going to be bringing his same, to the best of my knowledge, his same Silent King and Scorpex spam and Wraith spam kind of list, where he'll have the Silent King 3 squads of Wraiths, 3 squads of Scorpex, a couple of LHDs, and that sort of like, here's a whole bunch of toughness 5, 3 wound models that reanimate. They're all obsec. Deal with it. That he came in second at a GT with and won an RTT with the last couple weeks. So that should be a lot of fun. He's getting really good at that particular list. Lucas is bringing his new flavor of orcs, which in a wild change of events have 0 objectives secured in the entire army. He's got Gaz, Makari, triple battle wagon, a 3x5 mega knobs, 3 squads of Squighog boys, and a couple of characters.
What the hell
and
is
just
this?
goes.
What
Yeah,
the hell is this?
it's full
Does
pedal
it just
to the
deploy
metal.
on the line and hope that it goes first?
Yes, and yes, that's exactly what it does.
Okay,
And
that's
it's
dumb. All right.
It gets the job done. He's like 3-15 with it into S tiers right now. But that's better than he was doing with anything else. So
He did beat Tao yesterday with it.
he did. He's very excited.
Yes.
So we'll
The
see
last
how that
time,
goes.
the only time I've talked to Lucas in the last week was when he said, "I'm going to beat Tao with orcs." Okay, Lucas.
Yeah, I will say he definitely is going to have some good advantage in his list familiarity. Obviously, he knows that list better than any of us do, and he's been studying what the rest of the meta stuff is pretty hard. So I think he might surprise some people. But
Of the 8 people, he's probably one of the top 3 best players in the
yeah,
8. I would also guess.
From a player skill perspective, totally, he's
Yeah.
fantastic. So we'll see what he can pull off with that army. I wouldn't count him out, but I would be hesitant to put a ton of money on orcs right now.
Okay.
But
Well, what are you going to take, Tyler? Is it also going to be A tier?
no, it's going to definitely be S tier. Well,
We
I've got
presume.
2 options.
We don't actually know that.
Yeah,
I'll say
knows?
I am letting Tyler play new NIDs, even though the book won't be out because I'm the TO and I'm a NID player. Actually, no.
Yeah.
It's just that we wanted this. We wanted it to be 8 armies that don't overlap, which we've done, which is super cool, by the way. It's 8 completely different factions. And then we've got so we got 8 completely different factions, and it seems silly not to have the 8 best things we can. And having Tyler play old NIDs when he's got the new NID codex is literally torture. So
yeah, I think it'll also make better content. I don't think people want to watch battle reports full of old NIDs right now.
no, I don't think they do. So what new
Yeah.
NIDs do you think you're gonna do?
So
Levy?
I'm going to go in one of 2 directions. Yeah, definitely
Okay.
Leviathan. I won't have 30 warriors ready
Oh,
in time.
We're not
So-
allowing Octarius, and we're not
Yeah.
allowing Crusher Stampede. I personally believe that neither of those things can exist in the meta with the new book without significant errata. I think both, especially Crusher Stampede, where you get a Flyrant that does like 60 mortals a turn, that's not okay. So there's like massive game-breaking issues if you presume the new codex goes with those books.
Yeah, I wouldn't assume that.
Tyler agrees, Alex agrees, John Lennon agrees. All of the best Tyranid players I know are in agreement. None of us are using that stuff till we get an answer from GW, just to put that out there for you guys. Go ahead, Tyler.
Awesome. Yeah. So with that at all said, I'm going to go in one of 2 directions. I'm either going to play a mono nids list that is very psychic heavy. I'll play double Maliceptor and do a lot of T8 4-up invuln stuff. So it'll be double Maliceptor. It'll probably also be double Hive Tyrant, one with guns, one with a sword, and then some Zone Thropes, some Venom Thropes, a bunch of Gargoyles, the Parasite, that kind of thing. A lot of quick moving stuff that can take advantage of the leave at the end of the turn shenanigans. Tyrant Guard, of course, to abuse Bodyguard until that gets changed. So that's one idea. And then the other idea is that I might try Forces because I have a soft spot for Twisted Helix Gene Stealers right now. And that would look like the usual sort of Twisted Helix stuff, and then just the T8 4-up invuln 12 to 15 wound NID stuff, which I think might be a really solid combination. I wouldn't play Leviathan though. I would play custom with all the monsters have OBSEC. So I have T8 15 wound, 4-up invuln, -1 to incoming strength, -1 to hit, objective secured monsters to hold down the fort while the GSC run amok. So one of those 2 things. We'll figure it out.
Really fun. You hadn't talked to me about that concept, and that sounds incredibly fun to me. I've got
I
these
think it'd
big
be a good
monsters
time.
while all these little dudes dance around and are janky. I think that sounds great.
Yeah.
So to fight off the TNG in this battle for the generations, to fight off the TNG, my group will be bringing lists. Now, I was going to say the best list we possibly can, but I don't think that's actually what's happening. So I talked to Chuck last night, and I said, well, I'm pretty sure Mitch might have custodes, and we don't want to have overlap. And he said, that's okay. I took my custodes, I put them in a box, I put them in the garage, and I put something on top of them. And I was like, oh, okay. He's like, I took him to a tournament. Man, what an easy hobby project for what a boring army. And I'm like, that's fair, Chuck. So he's gonna see if this Be'lakor 30 pinks, 500 summoning points thing that he's playing at the at Gamers Haven this weekend. He's going to see if that thing is going to be the thing, or if he's going to play a different chaos list, which it sounds like is an Emperor's Children list with Plagueburst Crawlers and Terminators that auto make charges and stuff. Evidently, that's really quite strong. Probably not into the S tier, but evidently it's quite good at punch and it's quite good at mission. So I think that's where he's going to end up personally, because I actually think that he's he's currently playing Crusher Stampede with this Pink Horror Bellacore thing, and I suspect that's going badly. So I don't know. I don't know what Chuck will end up with. And then what's great about Mitch is that Mitch's list is going to be jank that you won't understand, and he'll have to explain to you. But Mitch doesn't know what it is yet,
No,
and neither do I.
unfortunately.
What do you know, Mitch?
Well, so I think there is something we need to talk about real quick that we haven't brought up since we last had a show, which is that GW is having a event in Seattle, in Tacoma specifically. But and I'm going to be going to that event. So now the question is, do I try and make that has to be something that is I already have mostly painted because I don't have the time to paint a new army. So I go try and bring what I want to bring to that, which is going to be something fun to just have a good time. I'm not trying to win that event. Or do I try and just bring something entirely different and weird, which is what I'm leaning towards. Um there have been lists with 45 Fenrisian wolves and 15 cyber wolves that all advance in charge. And with I think it's like 16 penitent engines that all advance in charge. That was interesting. Um, Lots of mana cores is what I would say. Mana cores seem to be very necessary in the new world.
They seem good for sure. And then I'm going to play Harlequins. And I'm playing Harlequins because of two things. One, I own like 12 boats. And that turns out is how many boats for like any other three Harlequin players own together. So everybody acknowledges that the boats are great, but no one can find them. And I looked at my collection, and then Hank had a few extra he didn't need. And I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, well now, that's that's a thing I can do. So I certainly like playing elves. I think the Harlequins are super fun. I was going to play Crafter Liller and Harlequins, which is probably what my tournament army is going to be for the next while. But we're doing this whole no overlap thing, and Hank's got Crafter Liller, so I'm going to bring Harlequins. I'm going to play Light. I think Dark is good as well, but the defensive BS of Light amuses me incredibly. So I want to have that. Their stratagem, the Light custom stratagem, amuses me greatly as well. So like all of these things are fun. I'm gonna play seven. I'm gonna play 7 gunboats. I'm gonna play 3 normal boats with fusion pistol and close combat dudes inside of it. I'm gonna have another rando a cheap squad. So if they don't have indirect fire, I have an objective holder. I'm gonna do the death jester that rolls 3 shots, and a 6 is 4 hits. But he also gets to turn one of his dice into a 6. So the way you read that is he does 4 to 12 hits. He can't do less than 4, and he can't do more than 12. But what in there he's going to do with his strength 6, 7, strength 7, strength 6,
String 6.
strength 6, right, Hank? Yeah, strength 6, AP 2. Is that right,
Yep.
Hank? Yeah,
And a sniper.
right. This guy who gets 4 to 12 hits, that's a sniper at strength 6, AP 2. That seems like that could be good. So I'm going to play with him. I'm going to play with the Troop Master that just is ridiculously fast and beats the crap out of things because I'm really excited about him. And I'm going to play with a Shadow Seer doing Shadow Seer things. So that's going to be really fun. I think I'm going to have a great time flying boats around the table. You guys won't be able to hear it on the battle reports since I make zoom noises as the Harlequins fly around the table. Oh, I forgot the 10 bikes. My mistake. 10 bikes. Because bikes, as Hank and I found out in our very first game,
Oh,
can
yeah.
advance in charge after going 22 inches. Let me tell you, I've played Shining Spears.
Yep.
Shining Spears never one time were able to have 2 units advance in charge across the entire table with those stratagems being spent. That was never a thing. It wasn't a thing in Yunari. It wasn't a thing in 8th edition. It wasn't a thing when they were all Sam Han, whatever you say.
Solid.
Yeah. So that's crazy. So I'm going to use 2 units of those, and I've returned the first turn of every game. I will weigh. I want this piece for the whole game, but I also could YOLO it into my opponent and kill something. That'll be a fun decision for me at the beginning of every single game. So here's what I want to do now. I want to hear from each of you in the first round. Who would you least like to face, and who would you most like to face? And you can have any reason for saying either of these things. It doesn't have to be because you want to win. It could be anything. We'll do it in the same order. Hank, who do you least want to face in the first round?
I would least want to face Zach because I already have a pretty good idea of how the Eldar versus Tau matchup goes, and While Zach is an amazing opponent, love to play the guy. I don't think I'll learn a whole lot from that game.
Okay, fair enough. And who do you most want to face in the first round?
I absolutely most want to face Tyler round 1 because I have no idea how that game goes and I need data.
Okay. All right, great. And we are going, we do have a time slot, by the way. So like 4 people are going to be out in the first round, but we do have time to have some other alternate universe games go. So we're going to do some, well, what if these 2 people had won? Alternate battle reports as well. So that you're not going to only see one game from 4 people here. Okay, so that's Hank. Zach, who do you most want to face in the first round and why?
So I would love to play against Tyler because, like Hank, no idea about new bugs. I have a copy of the book. I kind of looked through it and said, "There's a lot here. I fucking know." So I think that would be great fun.
Okay. All right. This is spring break for you, right? This week?
Yeah, yeah. So I am
Okay.
on. This is the end of final. This was the end of finals week last week. I'm on
Well,
spring break.
congrats on that. I'm
Thank you.
sure you did great. I just wanted to point out that you should come up this week because I also haven't played a practice game with Mono Harlequins, and I probably should do that before next weekend.
Let's do it. I think Harlequins are my least favorite to play round 1.
Okay, is that am I your answer for who you least want to see round one?
Yeah, I have an army that shoots, and you have an army that goes really fast and charges, and it seems like if I make some mistakes, that's real bad for me.
Yeah, it could be. But you have fallback and shoot now, right?
So against you, I would take that. I would. So if you take Cao Yan instead of Montka, your stuff works in turns 3, 4, and 5, and you get fallback and shoot. So yes, I have never taken Cao Yan because I think Montka is better in like every other matchup.
You have those backwards?
Zach, are you? No. Zach is correct. Zach, are you fielding a crisis commander?
I am actually no, I'm not. I have an enforcer and a cold star.
People, I think you might want to reconsider that decision. Having access to the fallback and shoot always from the crisis commander is a big deal.
I have 2 units of 3 crisis dudes, and that's it.
Oh,
So,
okay.
I'm not running. I'm not running what you usually see on the internet. So
Awesome.
my army would be very different. Though I have a lot of guys in transports who won't, and they can just get out of the transport and shoot you. So that'll be okay. But I'm concerned that I make some mistakes and that game goes very poorly.
Mm. I'm concerned that I make some mistakes and my army disappears to Tau Fire, so I have a
That
different
will
opinion than
that will also happen if you
yeah.
if you let me shoot you.
Yes. All right. So that's great. So Tyler, who do you think that Nick? By the way, I think we should call them Nicrons for this tournament. I think that that's
Sure.
just appropriate. So what do
Mhm.
you think the Nicrons would like to face in the first round? You know Nick pretty well.
Yeah. He wants to damage check people and see if they can put out enough output in response. I think that
So not Tau.
No, not Tau. He doesn't want to play into Tau, and I don't think he would love to play into the elves. I think his Custodes matchup is interesting. I think he would enjoy that game. But I think he would have the best game probably into Chuck, because the output that I've seen that comes out of the Bellacore style Chaos list, I don't think lines up very well into the defensive profiles that the Necrons are putting out. And I think that might be a bit of an issue for him.
Okay. And what about Lucas?
Lucas doesn't want to play me. I know that for a fact.
And by
He's
the way, you weren't playing Lucas and I'm not playing Chuck, just so everybody has
Excellent.
that. We're not going to have the tournament be that ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't have me play Lucas round 1,
I mean, in the second or third round, sure. But in the first round,
I'm going to play Lucas eventually. It's just how it works.
in the first round, you get to dodge Lucas and I get to dodge Chuck. That's the way.
Yeah. But yeah, Lucas doesn't want that. I think that he would really enjoy the game into Zach's flavor of Tau from what I'm hearing, because he really likes like Lucas and I both really enjoy playing matchups that are terrible. Like he loves playing into Tau, even though he gets, raffle stomped most of the time. So I think seeing a slightly different flavor of Tau, and I'd be curious to see how it stacks up. I think he would enjoy that.
Okay. And then least favorite for Lucas?
Me. But like if you don't count me, then probably the elves, because you're able to dance around him so effectively. Yeah. He's kind of fast, but not really, and he just sort of dumps all his stuff in the middle.
I think Harlequins are a real problem for Necrons. Oh, sorry, for excuse me, for orcs. Yeah, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what about you?
If you don't count Lucas, because we're not counting that, I think that oh man, I I think I want to see what the elf matchup is like. I think I want to play you, Colin. I think that would be a lot of fun. I'm very curious to see how those things line up.
Well, we have 2 elf players. Everybody keeps saying the elf matchup. We
Oh,
have
oh
we
yeah.
have a
Oh wait,
CWE player
you're
and
playing
a
mono
Harley's player.
Harleys. Hank is playing mono Craft Worlds, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
Yeah, either one of those sound like a ton of fun. I know that of the people at this RTT, I am one of them. I've beat 5 of them, and I haven't beaten you or Zach yet. So I think that that shifts the priority toward one of y'all. But we'll see how it ends up shaking out.
You can just
though-
have Zach first round because the rest of us don't want him. So like if that's
this is the thing is that
Let's
I don't know that
go.
I do. But
I'm
we
super
could do
curious
it.
just how
Fun.
little his indirect fire does to the Harlequin castle. That's something that I'm super interested to see.
The problem is exactly how much his direct fire does to my Malice Scepters.
Yes.
Because hammerheads just ruin my day. So
Yeah.
we'll see. I think it could be fun. I think you could have a real good time and it'd be a real interesting game.
Yeah.
I'm down.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's my thoughts.
Mitch, what do you think? Most desirable, least desirable first matchup.
Least desirable is going to be Lucas, just because we played a charity hammer. And whatever I'm bringing probably isn't going to be so different. And his list was just get on the line and run at me, and it's pretty much the same thing. So like that would be fun, but I've already that's a pretty recent game. For playing you guys, because we just don't get to play that often. But I want probably like Necrons is probably going to be a fun matchup for whatever weird nonsense I bring, because it's not going to be a direct shooting list of any normal style. So it would probably be an interesting set of challenges, and I don't know. I think that would probably be the one I'd go for. Necrons are always fun.
All right.
I will say, having played both of you, I think that you and Nick, Mitch, would have a really fun, very cerebral game. It would be a fun matchup to watch.
All right. I'm going to try to guess for Chuck. Chuck's not going to want to play Tau round 1. That's just not a thing that he's going to want to do. He's going to play Chaos, and if he does play Zach, both of them will be very sympathetic to the Chaos rule set. So at least it'll be a kind game, because like Zach also plays Chaos and will know the pain that Chuck is feeling in that game, right, Zach? You're muted.
Yeah. I mean, I have done the Be'lakor experiment all the way, and if he brings that, I will smile and coddle him.
There'll be snuggling during the game. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, no doubt, some Slaneshi snuggling.
All right. Weird. Fine. I'm gonna guess that Chuck doesn't want Tau. I think, and then Chuck doesn't want me because we play constantly in tournaments and we're over it.
I
Who would
also
Chuck
don't think he
want?
wants me, because I probably have guard and then vengeance for Cadia is the thing.
Yeah, that's true. Who would Chuck want? I think Chuck would want Nick. I think that Chuck would want to play Chaos into Necrons because he knows both those armies really well. I know that he likes playing Nick. I think he'd also like Lucas because I think that he'd like playing against orcs and he knows orcs really well. So that would be that's my guess for him. For me, if we're ignoring Chuck, I don't want Zach only because I would like to play more than one game and I don't have any idea what happens with the Tau Shooter Harlequins. I know that Hammerheads are really bad for my Harlequins list. Because frankly, I only have invuls. That's how I don't die is invuls. So that seems bad. But I know that everybody says Harley, like Art of War says Harley's is the top book in the game. Do I think they're right? I have no idea, but that's what they say. So that'll be really interesting. At least the matchup I'd be most excited about is probably Lucas in the first round. I love playing Lucas. His hype will be so. If he gets to play me first, he will be so hype. Like his energy will be so high. And I also really like shooting orcs. And I also do the thing that he hates that nobody else does, where I split all of my shooting between all of his orc units every turn to make him take maximum morale tests every turn, which he does not like. The last time we played, no, it was last time I played Chuck where I made him take like 6 morale tests a turn with his orc list. Because I was like, let's get extra guys to die. Yes, I think that's where I'm at. So we're gonna do really quick. You only just say, who do you think will win the whole thing? Just that's all you have to say. Hank, who do you think will win the whole thing?
Yeah, I think it's you, Colin. I think that Harlequins are the best book in the game. I think that they make Tau very sad. I think that they'll have the ability to run away from the Tyranids enough. I think that my list is kind of sort of teched for Harlequins, but I don't think I have enough experience into the matchup, and I think you're better into a cold matchup than I am.
Mm,
So yeah, you're my vote.
okay.
So I actually think Colin's gonna win, but I learned long ago to bet on yourself, so I'm gonna win.
Okay. Zach's gonna win. Tyler, who do you think Nick and Lucas would guess?
I think
Would
that
Lucas say himself? You think?
absolutely not. Lucas is incredibly self-deprecating.
That's
He
what I
said he
thought.
was going to go 4-2 at LVO. I think that Lucas. I think that Lucas would probably back you, and I think Nick would probably back Hank.
Okay.
Would
How
be
about
my
you? What are you
guess.
gonna say?
I'm tempted. I'm tempted to bet on myself, but I also know that like new book syndrome is going to have its issues. I'll know it pretty well, but you can only know it so well.
Right.
So
I think
I'm
it's
gonna
different if you play forces versus mono too. I think
yeah,
there's
oh
a
for
very
sure,
different learning. There's a very different learning curve there. But
yeah,
we're gonna
and
play the day before, so we'll get to try both lists, and you can kind of pick the one that you feel more comfortable with.
definitely, I'll certainly bring both. But I think that there are too many things that Harlequins can run into that will brick them when they're mono Harlequins. And I think of the two mono books, I go with Craft World Elder. So I'll put my money on Hank.
Okay. All right. Mitch, what do you think?
Man, I know it's not going to be me. My win condition is to win one game.
Yes, I think that's a great win condition for the Imperial Soup guy.
Yeah.
In
Yep.
this ridiculousness, this ridiculous meta of 8 people we've created, I think the Imperial Soup guy and the Chaos guy are maybe in a different competition.
Yeah, I'm just trying to win end game. But I lean towards Tau, just because everyone's going to be playing new books, and with that, uh, Tau have have I feel like some of the best useful indirect and direct fire, and that ability to move and then deploy out your protected shooting that can also take an objective, and just eliminate almost anything with the right application of CP is really cool. And I agree with Zach. I think the list he's bringing is much more interesting than the suit list, but the indirect that he has gives him a consistency, that Harleys are probably the one we don't know, and maybe that it just turns out it is a hard counter. But other than that, that seems like the place to be.
I'll tell you, as the inexperienced Harley player, I don't think it's the hard counter, but what do I know? We'll see. I don't know, guys. Guys, what do you think Chuck would say? I don't know. Would he say me just from how long we've been playing? I don't know what he would say. He'd probably say Craft World Elder or Harlequins would be my guess.
I feel like he'd bet on the Craft World Eldar because of the indirect.
Yeah,
But
but I think he would bet on me. Well, whatever. It doesn't matter.
yeah, no, either are correct, I think.
Yeah, I think it would be an elf player that Chuck would say. I think he'd feel bad about it, but no, actually, Chuck would say himself. And then when we pushed him on it, he would then give us a real answer. Is actually what would happen.
Yeah, he would make a joke first. This is true.
Yeah. So I'm going to say not me, because I don't feel like I'm actually playing 40k very well right now, and I'm taking a very hard army. So I'm going to say Hank, because I think that the Craftal Eldar is very strong. I think Hank has enough practice reps in it now to be really fierce. Hank showed his what's the word? His man, not acumen, his whatever. Hank showed his abilities when he went super far at Charity Hammer against the most ridiculous field possible with Admech. So I believe in Hank, but if it's me instead, I won't be upset about that. I suppose if I'm wrong, if I'm wrong that it's not actually, I'd be happy if any of these 8 people won. It'd be all of those narratives are fun.
Yeah, I don't think there's a narrative that isn't a great time.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So to wrap it up for you guys here on next Saturday, we're recording this. None of us are going to tell you how it goes. Don't even ask us. Everybody's going to not say anything.
Check
Then
my
we're going to
Twitter
post
feed.
the first 4 games on probably Monday. Later in the week, we'll post the next 2 games. Later in the week, we'll post the final game and then some of the other alternate universe games that we did. All of that will be 30 to 60-minute battle reports, top-down camera primarily because it's the easiest to show you what's happening, where the players are talking through both sides of the game. They're going to talk about strategic mistakes, list errors, rules that caught them off guard, things they played wrong. They're going to tell you an incredible amount of information, but they're also going to do it in a story that's entertaining. It is going to be fantastic. If you don't believe me, go look at what we've already done and realize that this will be even more production value and effort than that was. So that's what we're going to do next weekend. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. We hope that this will be something we're able to do monthly or every other month. We're able to do this kind of event and get some really high-end competitive content up that's actually educational as well as being entertaining, because that's what Best in Tabletop is all about, right? We're thinking that it's going to be that where the slogan is going to be Best in Tabletop, play your best game. I think that's what it's going to be. And your best game is, your ability to play and your army and your sportsmanship and all those things. So that's what this tournament's going to be all about. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. We're going to be back, I think, actually this week, Mitch, because I think we're going to need to interview Chuck about his tournament because the next one of these will be about the stream tournament. So I don't know. Maybe we're recording this week with Chuck. Otherwise, Chuck tournament will be in the next episode 2 weeks from now. We haven't actually thought that through. And that's what we got. Lots coming out this week. Look for the next episode of Fight Club, where they'll start talking about Eldar data. BIFPOD TNG yesterday talked about Tyranids. Chasing the Narrative is going to have Adam Camilleri. It's an amazing story that pivots halfway through and talking about substance abuse and mental health. Adam Abramowitz was last week for Chasing the Narrative. He also talks about mental health. It's incredibly interesting, very profound conversation with both Adams. So take a look at that. And we're still releasing battle reports like crazy. The Frontiers guys have their third episode. Tyler, how many episodes do the Frontiers guys have?
The second episode went up this week.
All right, Frontiers has got their second episode up. So we got all types of stuff going on. We love doing this for you. We hope that you guys are enjoying yourselves, and we will be back soon enough. Thank you, everybody, and have a fantastic rest of your weekend or week or whatever it is that you're doing. Bye, everybody. Talk to you soon.
Bye.